In this video, we're going to talk about a few reasons why you might want to drop some columns from your data set before training machine learning model, and then how to do that in the Sway AI platform 2 different ways. So let's look at this data set here that we've connected to. It's a CSV file, and you'll see that there's a few things here that we might want to address. So the first thing is this product group has a large percentage null. So this is just the first 1,000 rows of the data, but even as we scroll down, you'll see that it's almost all null. So we might want to drop product group for that reason. Another one is if something is almost a constant or is a constant, in other words, there's no variability within the column, that's not going to help the machine learning model decipher patterns in the data. So in this case, if we look at customer number, the first two are customer one, but then after that, all the other rows are customer two. So that might be another example of a column we want to drop. A third example is if the data has some corruption issues. So when we connected to the CSV file, we brought in this column called product name. And you'll see it starts out looking pretty normal, product, with a number after it. But then there's like a minus number here, then there's a bunch of decimal numbers. So we don't really trust this particular column. So that's another reason we might want to drop it from our data set. Another reason is if it's not relevant, right? Or it just doesn't make sense based on our domain expertise. So if we look at this, the customer's middle name, that shouldn't have anything to do with our revenue forecast, right? So we might want to drop that column just because it doesn't make any sense. And then the last reason is if we have a column that is highly correlated to another column, we don't need both those columns. We want to build the model with as few columns as possible that can still find the most patterns in our data. So if we look at this number of high-priced units purchased, that's going to be very highly correlated with revenue, right? Because the more high-priced units the person purchased, the higher the revenue. So we might want to drop that column for that reason. So those are just a few of the issues why we might want to drop a column. And then if we do it here in the Sway platform, you just start typing drop, you say drop columns, and then it'll bring up all the columns here, and we'll be able to drop some of the ones we talked about, like customer number, product group that had a lot of nulls, number of high price units purchased that was highly correlated with another field, etc. We click save, and then if we go to look at the data after the fact, you'll see that those fields were indeed removed from our data set. They were dropped from our data set. Now there's a slightly different field or node that we can use here. Instead of dropping, we can call it exclude. And let me just drop this one and bring up the other one. Really, they're very similar. The only difference is that the drop is more restrictive than the exclude. So if I start typing exclude now, basically what this means is, let's say we have something like customer number. And it was mostly a constant, right? Almost all of them were customer two with a couple customer ones. But so it's not going to help us in our model training because we're not going to find patterns between different customers if they're almost all customer two. But we might want to save this for later when we build a dashboard. So we don't want to drop it entirely from the data set. We just want to exclude it from the model training. So if we say save, and then we go in and look here, you'll see that this time the customer number is still here because while we're excluding it from model training, we have not dropped it from the data set. So that's reasons why we might want to drop columns in machine learning before training a model, and 2 different ways we can do that in the Sway AI platform. Thank you for watching.